Last time, we asked what you actually are. Not your body, not your memories, not even your thoughts, and we left you with a question that probably kept playing in your head for days. So then, what? Today we are going to try to answer it, and the answer is stranger than anything we covered last time, because the most honest answer science can give you is this: there might not be a you at all, not in the way you think there is. Right now you feel like a single, unified person, one continuous you sitting behind your eyes, making decisions, watching your life unfold like a movie with a single main character. This feeling has a name. Philosophers call it the unity of consciousness. It feels obvious. It feels undeniable. But here is what neuroscience has discovered. That feeling is not a fact about your brain. It is something your brain is constructing, actively, constantly, in real time. Your brain does not have one central command center where you sit and watch everything happen. It has billions of neurons, organized into dozens of specialized regions, each one doing its own job, with no single region in charge. There is no seat of the self. There is no tiny person inside your head pulling the levers. There is just activity, distributed, parallel, decentralized. And somehow, out of all that scattered activity, your brain generates the powerful illusion that there is one of you in there. In the 1960s and 70s, a series of experiments revealed something that should have changed how every human being thinks about themselves. Patients with severe epilepsy sometimes underwent a surgery that severed the corpus callosum, the thick bundle of nerve fibers connecting the left and right hemispheres of the brain. This was done to stop seizures from spreading between the two sides. The surgery worked, but it revealed something nobody expected. Neuroscientist Roger Sperry, along with his student Michael Gazzaniga, began testing these split brain patients. What they found was extraordinary. Each hemisphere of the brain, once separated, behaved like its own independent conscious entity. In one experiment, researchers showed an image only to the patient's left visual field, which is processed by the right hemisphere. The patient could not verbally say what they saw because language is usually controlled by the left hemisphere. But when asked to draw what they saw, using their left hand, controlled by the right hemisphere, they could draw it perfectly. Two hemispheres, two separate streams of awareness, operating in the same skull. Which one was the real you? Gazzaniga went further. He discovered something he called the interpreter, a region in the left hemisphere whose job is not to perceive reality, but to construct a story about it, to take fragmented, disconnected pieces of information from across the brain and weave them into a single coherent narrative, even when that narrative is wrong. In one experiment, the right hemisphere was shown an image of a snowy scene and instructed to make the patient's hand pick up a shovel. The left hemisphere, which had not seen the snow image and did not know why the hand picked up the shovel, was asked why. The patient did not say, "I don't know." The left hemisphere instantly invented an explanation. "I need the shovel to clean out the chicken shed." A complete fabrication, stated with total confidence. The interpreter did not know the real reason, so it made one up and believed it. This is not a rare malfunction. This is what your brain does every single day, all day, whether your corpus callosum is intact or not. Your sense of being a single, coherent you is not a discovery your brain makes. It is a story your brain tells, a narrative stitched together after the fact from scattered, often contradictory signals to create the feeling of a continuous self. Psychologists call this the narrative self, and it explains some of the strangest things about human behavior. It explains why you can confidently give reasons for decisions that were actually made by processes you have no conscious access to. It explains why eyewitness testimony is so unreliable. The brain fills in gaps with confident, fabricated detail, and the witness has no idea they are doing it. It explains why you can feel so certain about why you fell in love, why you made a career choice, why you reacted the way you did in an argument, when in reality, the true causes were buried in neural processes you will never consciously see. Your brain is not reporting the truth about your decisions. It is constructing a story that feels true. So if there is no central self, no single command center, no unified observer behind your eyes, why does it feel so real? This is where it gets even stranger. Buddhist philosophy arrived at this same conclusion over 2,000 years before modern neuroscience. It is called anatta, the doctrine of no self. The Buddha taught that what we call the self is not a fixed, permanent thing. It is a process, a constantly changing flow of physical sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, none of which remains the same from one moment to the next. There is no driver behind the wheel. There is only the driving. This is not nihilism. The Buddha was not saying you do not exist. He was saying that what you think you are, A fixed, unchanging, singular self does not exist in the way you imagine it does. What exists is a process, a pattern, a flow. You are not a thing, you are a happening. Western philosophy reached a strikingly similar conclusion through a completely different route. In the 1700s, the Scottish philosopher David Hume turned his attention inward, trying to locate the self through introspection. He wrote that whenever he looked inward, he never actually found a self. He found only individual perceptions, a sensation of heat or cold, a feeling of love or hatred, a particular thought, one after another. He never once caught himself without a perception, and he never once caught a perception of the self itself. His famous conclusion was that the mind is nothing but, in his words, a bundle or collection of different perceptions, which succeed each other with an inconceivable rapidity and are in a perpetual flux and movement. A bundle, not a thing. A bundle of passing experiences that we mistake for a thing. Hume could not find a self, because there might not be one to find. So why does your brain bother to construct this illusion at all? Why not just experience reality as the scattered, decentralized process it actually is? The answer is survival. A unified narrative self is extraordinarily useful. It allows you to plan for the future because there is a continuous you who will experience the consequences of today's choices tomorrow. It allows you to learn from the past because there is a continuous you who carries forward the lessons of yesterday. It allows you to form relationships because other people need to predict a consistent, stable identity in order to trust you, cooperate with you, love you. A creature without a sense of continuous self would struggle to delay gratification, to maintain long-term goals, to build the complex social bonds that allowed humans to survive and thrive. So evolution built you a story, not because the story is true, but because believing the story helped your ancestors stay alive long enough to pass on the genes that build brains that tell that same story. The self is not a discovery, it is an adaptation. None of this means your life does not matter. None of this means your choices, your relationships, your experiences are not real. The pain you feel is real. The love you feel is real. The decisions you make are real in the sense that they have real consequences in the real world. What dissolves under this evidence is not your experience. What dissolves is the assumption that behind that experience there must be a single, fixed, permanent owner. There does not need to be a thing called you for there to be experience happening. There just needs to be the process, the flow, the bundle, as Hume called it, the happening rather than the thing. So back to the question we left you with. What are you, really? Not your body, which replaces nearly all its cells over the course of years. Not your memories, which neuroscience has shown are reconstructed and altered every single time you access them. Not even your thoughts, which arise from distributed brain processes with no single author, stitched together afterward into a story by an interpreter that does not actually know the real cause of what it is explaining. You are not a thing sitting behind your eyes, watching your life happen. You are the watching itself, a process, a pattern, a story your brain tells, moment after moment, with such skill and such consistency that the story feels like the most solid, undeniable fact in your entire existence. And maybe that is not something to fear. Maybe the dissolving of the illusion of a fixed self is not a loss. Maybe it is a kind of freedom, because if there is no fixed self to protect, defend, and prove right at all costs, there is only the flow, the becoming, the next moment, free to be shaped by what you choose to do with it now. You were never a noun. You were always a verb. If this changed how you see yourself, subscribe, because next time we ask an even harder question. If there is no fixed self, what survives when you change completely? See you there.